Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage President and Chief Executive Officer of the Biotechnology Innovation Organization, James Greenwood.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. I hope everybody found a good party to go to last night. Biotech breakthroughs have saved and prolonged millions of lives and relieved untold suffering. And nowhere is our impact more evident than our work to develop treatment for HIV. Since the 1980s, the disease has claimed 35 million lives, making it one of the two deadliest pandemics in the history of the human race, along with the Black Plague. But today, a person diagnosed with HIV who adheres to his or her treatment regimen has a life expectancy comparable to that of a person without the virus. Well, this morning, Bio and the Chemical Heritage Foundation are proud to recognize a brilliant man who has led the charge in this global fight. John C. Martin, Executive Chairman of Gilead Sciences, is the winner of this year's Biotechnology Heritage Award. Let's take a look at a video.
He's incredibly insightful.
Caring.
Visionary.
Caring for the science, caring for the patients.
Serious.
Competent.
Caring about not just discovering drugs, but to deliver them to as many people as needed.
Orthogonal.
Generous.
John is incredibly enthusiastic.
He is a risk taker, a deeply science-oriented leader, and somebody who cares deeply about the patients his company serves.
John is a scientist first and foremost, and so he always is very data-driven.
I grew up in a family that talked a lot about science and understood science. Both my parents were chemists, so it's kind of in the genes, I think.
John, of course, is one of the few CEOs in the industry that actually is steeped in science.
This is a science-based industry. We succeed because of advances we make in science and medicine. And it helps to have CEOs who are focused on science and medicine and who understand science and medicine.
He built a very credible giant that helped change the way that medicine's practiced. John was able to be at the helm not only over one of those severe diseases, HIV, but then hepatitis and who knows what's next.
You know, Gilead has transformed the care of HIV and essentially turned HIV from a death sentence into a chronic disease. That's one of the most remarkable transformations in recent medical history.
He will also be remembered for the astute way he managed the global HIV problem.
At the time we were launching our HIV products, there became quite a bit of demand for treatment in the middle and low-income countries. So we had the products that had the best profile for the treatment of HIV, and we did everything we could as a company to make those available around the world to create the access for them.
One of his enormous contributions to the world is the pioneering approach he adopted in sourcing drug under license from Indian manufacturers and supplying these products to those in the greatest need in Africa for free.
I watched some leaders in our industry focus on the competition. John focused on the disease as the primary competition. He took HIV as the enemy and took the side of how do I help these patients combat this awful disease.
Aim high and make a difference in human health, and it's very, very hard, but success has come along the way with perseverance.
What an inspiration. Now, in case you've missed one of our 7,000 signs around the convention center, the theme this year is breakthrough. For our health companies, converting breakthroughs in the laboratory into approved biologic medicines can have life-saving consequences. Genomic editing, cell therapy, immuno-oncology, precision medicine. These are just a few of the new frontiers that biotechnology companies are pioneering. And throughout this convention and our partnering business forum, new collaborations will lead to even more breakthroughs, because people across the world are counting on us to realize our infinite potential. Let's take a look.
So I think we should start in this sort of discussion, asking what is science?
At ATAR, we're focused on new pathways in immunology.
At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to manipulate the DNA to basically provide a fix. That's a case where we say you have a broken gene, we put it into, in this case, your stem cells, we give it back to you, and it goes to your bone marrow, and then it gets produced.
Primary focus of cognition has been on novel compounds to treat neurodegenerative diseases, and particularly we focused on Alzheimer's disease.
At Editas Medicine, we are working on what's called genome editing, and the particular technology that we work on is called CRISPR, and it's fascinating because it's a pretty young technology.
We're really interested in is, can we use fewer, or in many cases, no opioids to control post-surgical pain?
We are famous for zinc finger gene editing, but we're expanding what we do to include both gene editing, gene therapy, cell therapy.
Specifically, Sutro is working on antibody-drug conjugates, which are a combination of a targeting agent and antibody that goes specifically to a tumor cell with a toxin that is attached to it. It's kind of a smart bomb for cancer therapy.
These are some of the most brilliant people in the world, and so many of them are driven because they want to cure people. They want to create new hope.
There is a growing amount of evidence that the operating room is the gateway to the opioid epidemic. If you could make a local anesthetic last longer, that would be a huge advance in patient care.
Our primary approach right now is looking at a novel small molecule that we believe can impact one of the key causative agents of Alzheimer's, something called A-beta oligomer. And if that works the way we think it works, we believe we can help restore learning and memory to patients who are declining due to Alzheimer's disease.
You can have mistakes in DNA that lead to really serious diseases, genetically driven diseases. CRISPR is a tool that lets you go in and repair those genes, repair the broken genes at the level of DNA.
From our perspective, a breakthrough is something that has a meaningful difference to patients.
I think the theme of breakthroughs is important. The theme of innovation is even more important in that context.
A breakthrough is in the eye of the beholder, and a breakthrough isn't just one piece. So this year we'll be the first company to do in vivo gene editing. We will put a new gene into somebody's liver.
Scientifically, we're on the cusp of really some great breakthroughs in cancer, and there are a number of other scientific advances that are really coming to the forefront in 2017.
For me, a breakthrough at the end of the day is a product on the market that cures people or makes their life better.
Every day and every week, there's something that comes up where we look at one another and we say, well, nobody's ever done that before. So not just have we not done it, nobody's ever done it.
You're doing something no one's done before against all the odds, and your hope, your expectation is success.
If this works, this is one of those holy cow moments.
We are at the dawn, not high noon, but the dawn of a whole era of medicine.
At the same time, we're worried. We're worried about what Congress and the President could do in terms of bad policy.
You could say that the purpose of science is to make order prevail.
This is the future of science in our lives.
To make good prevail over evil.
I think we contribute enormously to the benefit of mankind. We can make a fundamental difference.
To make life prevail over death.
Maybe 5 or 10 years from now, this company will have played some role in helping other people not to have to face Alzheimer's disease.
I think the biotechnology community is incredibly optimistic right now. We know we're on the verge of all kinds of breakthroughs.
Thank you. You know, when I watch a video like that, it reminds me of why I've stayed at Bio for the past 12 years and why I'm so glad that I've signed up for another 3 years. I just love spending time with these brilliant researchers and whip-smart entrepreneurs, knowing that their hard work eventually will mean that patients who otherwise would be sick or even dying will be well and alive. We have a long way to go on this journey, but we'll get there. And part of the reason we'll get there is because we're democratizing the knowledge that makes biotechnology innovation possible. Thomas Friedman said that he believes the next great breakthrough in bioscience could come from a 15-year-old who downloads the human genome in Egypt. And I agree. That could happen. You know, after seeing the BioGenius Award winners yesterday, you just can't help but feel good about our future. Here in the United States, there are more first-in-class medicines in the pipeline than ever before. Imagine a new opioid painkiller modeled after the lidocaine that you get at the dentist's office. Imagine a CRISPR-Cas9 therapy that could one day snip out a genetic mutation in a rare disease that causes blindness, preventing a lifetime of darkness. Or applications of this technology that could edit out the HIV virus from the cells of infected patients. Imagine a new cancer drug that can target a genetic feature in a tumor rather than the disease's location in the body. Well, 2 years ago, that future arrived. President Jimmy Carter had stage 4 melanoma, and the progress was bleak. The cancer had spread into his liver and his brain. Yet, miraculously, there he was, back on our TV screens months later, announcing he was in remission. He was saved, in part, by an immunotherapy treatment that helps the immune system attack tumors. And thanks to biotechnology, President Carter can now continue the good work he's done for 37 years since leaving the White House. Our mission at Bio is to make sure nothing gets in the way of these miracles and to shape policy that speeds the development of new medicines. Last year was a pretty good year for innovation policy. Congress actually put politics aside and passed the 21st Century Cures Act by an overwhelming bipartisan vote. Now, the FDA will allow greater use of data from biomarkers, real-world evidence, and innovative clinical trials. And this will help our companies get breakthroughs to patients faster. And President Obama signed the bill into law last year. Congress also allocated $2 billion for Vice President Biden's cancer moonshot in honor of his son, Beau, who died of brain cancer the year before. Bio lobbied for 2 years to pass the Cures Act. It was one of our highest priorities, and it was a watershed victory for the patients we serve. But we aren't just creating breakthroughs in health. You can go to the supermarket today and buy genetically modified potatoes. They bruise less and brown more slowly. Next generation potatoes will be more resistant to diseases and fungicides and better for our agricultural economy and for consumers. And of course, those who claim GM food is less safe have it exactly backward. Biotechnology means less chemical spraying that could be harmful to people and to pets. Genetically modified apples will arrive in stores this fall. Now, the breakthrough here is they don't brown. And I found this interesting. Apples and other fruit evolved so they could rot relatively quickly, and that's so their seeds would get into the ground and germinate. So with today's orchards, the evolutionary mechanism is no longer needed. And hard to believe, but something like 40% of the apples that are produced are never consumed because they go bad so fast. And when millions are facing food insecurity right here in the United States, there's no room for wasted food. The United States and Canada have finally approved genetically modified salmon. These are fish that reach maturity in half the time of ordinary salmon. And because GM salmon are raised in land-based tanks, the process won't harm or impact our marine ecosystems. Industrial biotechnology companies are achieving breakthroughs in cellulosic biofuel. Their valuable research is beginning to pay off at a commercial scale. New factories are using safer, renewable chemicals to replace petrochemicals in cosmetics and food ingredients. We're producing cleaner biofuels, not just for our cars, but for jet planes too. We're using bio-based processes to make shoes from cotton and corn. So imagine instead of your worn-out sneakers being tossed into a landfill, you can actually compost them. Here in San Diego, we have another company working on algae-based shoes. So we're literally running into a new era of sustainability. Biotech companies are engineering breakthroughs all over the world. Last year, the Summer Olympics were nearly canceled because of the Zika virus. Fortunately, the Olympics went on. And after the games, I traveled to Brazil, and I had a very cool experience. I was driven around in a van, releasing genetically modified male mosquitoes into one of the many communities where Zika and dengue fever were infecting the local residents. Apparently, only the female mosquitoes bite. The genetically modified males mate with local females. We played a little romantic music from the van to put them in the mood. But after the eggs hatch, the larvae don't develop. These friendly mosquitoes actually breed out the invasive species that have been damaging the brains of newborn babies. So until we discover a vaccine, and we will, these transgenic mosquitoes may be the best hope we have to arrest the spread of this disease. In India, I attended a life science conference in the hometown of Prime Minister Modi. You may recall that last year he addressed a joint session of Congress in an effort to strengthen ties between our nations. So in that spirit, I traveled to India to talk about how biotech innovation can help. I met Prime Minister Modi and was granted a full day of meetings with his top cabinet officers. I urged the Modi government to protect innovation. The Prime Minister has said that he wants to be more respectful of intellectual property, and that's what I talked about. The IP environment in India has been challenging, but dialogue matters. We may not have forged a diplomatic breakthrough in one visit, but we're not finished. Medical breakthroughs, legislative breakthroughs, agricultural breakthroughs, industrial breakthroughs, even mosquito breakthroughs. The past 12 months has seen a series of accomplishments. But, as in Dickens' Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Our industry has been hit so hard on the drug pricing issue that our revolutionary successes have been overshadowed by a few bad actors who cornered the market on old drugs and jacked up the prices. And this is a real problem. Too many Americans still associate this indefensible behavior with our truly innovative industry. So it's important that we make the distinction, because the I in bio stands for innovation. Everything we do, every goal we set, every event we hold is all about innovation. We promote it, we protect it, and we deliver it. And that's what Bio 2017 is all about, bringing our industry's leaders together to further scientific discovery and bringing our advocates together to protect our mission from destructive policy. Now, here's an illustration of how uphill the pricing challenge is. I was invited to the Oxford Union last October. It's in Oxford, England. It's the greatest debating society in the world. Now, the invitation that came to me said the previous invitees included Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Mother Teresa, as well as US presidents and other world leaders. So I thought it made sense that I should be the next one. The proposition I was asked to debate was whether Big Pharma, quote, puts profits before patients. I was lined up against Queen Elizabeth's personal physician, and the audience was composed of young, idealistic students. And during audience comments, there was a lot of talk about high prices and bad actors, but far less about the lives and healthcare costs we save. Now, after the debate, the students voted by walking out the yes door or the no door. My side lost. We only got 66 votes out of 267. I'm pretty sure, though, had it not been for my brilliant debating skills, we would have only gotten 65. Stateside, tweets on drug prices by major figures in both parties sent biotech markets plummeting more than once. It's hard to explain what we do in 140 characters. Did you see the quote last month from Evan Williams? He said, "I thought once everybody could speak freely and exchange information and ideas, the world is automatically going to be a better place." I was wrong about that. And for those who may not know, Williams is the co-founder of Twitter. Now, the good news is that so far, social media criticism hasn't led to harmful policy changes in Washington. But the constant attacks do take their toll. And when politicians spook our investors, it hits our smaller biotech companies the hardest. And that's significant because emerging companies account for 70% of the global biopharmaceutical pipeline. Last year's political uncertainty caused biotech IPOs and follow-on offerings to fall by more than 50%. And publicly traded biotechs had their second worst performance in history. Now, the answer is not to end Twitter, it's to tweet back and defend ourselves. It's to talk to our lawmakers and post to their social media feeds. It's to remind the public what our industry stands for, the value our breakthroughs provide, and how costly it is to deliver a new drug to patients. And you know what? We have to be honest about it. Some of our medicines come with high prices. That's what happens in an enterprise with a 90% failure rate. These drugs are expensive in the first years, then a genetic or a biosimilar enters the market and prices plunge for decades. Now, reporters and politicians often neglect to consider that. And those who advocate for importation or for more government regulation of Medicare drug costs should consider this. If they succeed, there will be far fewer medicines to argue about. These policymakers ought to focus on why insurers are making sick people pay such outrageous out-of-pocket costs, and why PBMs continue to push up drug prices and then pocket the difference. Since last year's convention in San Francisco, Bio has really revved up our value campaign. We've exposed the role of middlemen in the drug distribution system, insurers, PBMs, and others who provide no real innovation but still pocket an outsized share of a drug's list price. Now, the media is finally reporting this story because we're doing a better job of telling it. Partly because of our efforts, headlines that used to look like this are beginning to look like this. We haven't completely turned the tide on the media coverage, but we've definitely balanced it out. We've also upped our advocacy for stronger biodefense and pandemic preparedness. I serve on the Blue Ribbon Study Panel for Biodefense. We're fighting hard to secure more funding and more attention on what, I'm sorry to say, are very possible catastrophes. And we're pushing for procurement of more biotech countermeasures so our nation can respond swiftly to a deadly pathogen or to a biological or chemical attack. On issue after issue, Bio has engaged in the debate on your behalf, and we've achieved many victories. But we have many battles ahead of us. So I need to ask each of you to help us by getting personally involved in these fights. We're going to make it easy for you. This morning, I'm proud to debut BioAction. This is our most sophisticated tool yet to keep you informed in real time about current policy fights. BioAction lets you quickly contact your elected officials on issues critical to the advancement of biotechnology. Now, I want you to take your cell phones out right now. I want to see you take your cell phones out, power them up, take them out of sleep mode. And for those of you who have been reading your emails and texting during my talk, you should be all ready. Now, the next thing I want you to do is text the word bio to 52886. Hope you're all doing that. And when you do, you'll be signed up for BioAction. You'll also get a link with information produced by the BioValue campaign that you can use to explain and defend what we do. And you'll start receiving the latest updates on policy issues that affect your business at the state and the federal level. So signing up is quick, it's easy, no excuses, let's go. Text BIO to 52886. And if you're an international guest, you can WhatsApp the word bio to +1 202 999 9222. And once you've signed up, we can even send you text messages to take action right before key votes. And that would be only with your permission. If you prefer, we can contact you by email with real-time actions. You know, more than 1.5 million people work in biotech in the United States alone. And this system will work if we can just mobilize our own employees. So check out the map behind me. It's showing in real time how many of you are signing up and where you're from. Cool. So text us if you want to stop politicians from dragging our reputation through the mud. Text us right now if you want patients to know that insurers, not drug innovators, determine what the patients pay at the pharmacy counter. Texas right now, if you care that drug rebates are being pocketed by PBMs and not passed through to patients. Texas if you want to fight efforts to weaken or repeal the renewable fuel standard that drives innovation in cleaner biofuels. Texas if you want to correct the constant misinformation that we hear about the safety of GMOs. And Texas right now if you want to be protected from a biological attack or a pandemic. Texas if you want to stop bad policies that could threaten biotech investment and possibly your job, as we need every one of you in this fight. So please sign up now, and you are. Keep it up. Nobody from North Dakota yet. That's great. Democracy isn't a spectator sport, so please get involved. Our industry needs you. Patients need you. Commit to being part of bio-action and make your voices heard. And together, ladies and gentlemen, we will fuel, we will feed, and we will heal the world. Thank you.